Okay. I'm going to explain it in English because I have to upload it to YouTube and then everybody has to look at it, okay? So basically what we're going to do is drive a DC motor using switches, okay? You made a DC motor go clockwise or counterclockwise depending on the polarity of the motor, okay? If you have, let's say, you have a DC motor like this, okay? Say you have a motor like this. Now he's going to spin this way, okay, if I apply a positive voltage on one end and a negative voltage on the other end, okay? If I apply the voltage on the other way, I'm going to have it turn either clockwise or counterclockwise, okay? So depending on the polarity is the direction of the engine. How can we do that if we can only have one signal in order to change the polarity? Remember that with an NPN transistor, we activate the motor with 1, right? Activating the base. So really fast, let's review how that worked. So I have the transistor here, okay? Now I have the motor on this side. Okay. And I have a diode. Remember that I needed a diode here. For what was the diode for? For the kickback current. Remember that when the motor stops, then he's going to have a kickback current that can burn the transistor. Okay? So here I have the diode, the transistor, okay? And this would be ground. Okay? So this would be an NPN transistor, and I would have to activate it with a current going this way in order to activate this switch. Okay? So I needed a 1. Okay, so as I was saying, this same process can be done with the PNP transistor, right? So let's do it really fast. In this case, the PNP transistor says that it goes in, okay? So this would be the emitter, base, and collector. Okay? Now, our motor will be on this side. Okay? Would be on this side, and we activate this switch. We will activate this switch using a 0. So instead of putting 9 volts here, I am going to apply 0 volts or ground. Okay? So if I connect this base to ground, then this is going to be activated, and I'm going to have the motor spin, right? I also need, of course, the kickback diode. Okay? This kickback diode is very important on each case. Okay? Now, let me erase this quick. Okay. Let's say this is our motor, okay? Now I'm going to have 4 switches. Now the space that I'm using is going to be for the switch. Okay, so I have 4 switches. Okay. They're going to be activated at different times. Okay? So this is the configuration that I have. I have 4 switches. Right? Now on this end, I have 9 volts. And on this end, I have ground. Okay? Let's say that I activate this switch, so I close the switch, right? And then I close this switch over here. Okay? Now, I'm going to follow the trail. So I'm going to get positive, so the current is going to go this way, right? Go through the motor, then go this way, all the way to ground, right? So here I have positive on this side, and I have negative on this side of the motor, right? What if I close this switch over here and this one over here? Now what I'm doing is that I'm changing, if I'm following the path, the current goes this way, right? Travels through the motor, then goes to ground. Now in this case, the polarity changes from plus to minus. Okay? So the motor will spin in a different way. Now these switches can be changed for what? What can I change these switches for? These are like push button switches, okay? We can change it for transistors. And if we change them for transistors, we will have an automatic way to drive the motor either counterclockwise or clockwise. Okay? Let's try to change this. Okay, so I have this. I'm going to put the switches here. Okay, I'm going to try to put the transistors where they were. Okay. Okay. Now, for our project, we're going to use 2 NPN transistors, and we're going to use 2 PNP transistors. Since we activate 2 of them with a 1, and we activate the other 2 with a 0, then we can only just, when we activate a 1, then it's gonna turn one way. If we deactivate it and put it to ground, using the same cable, using the same wire, if we put it on plus, we get 2 transistors to switch. If we put it on 0 or ground, we get the other 2 to switch. Okay? You understand? Okay. So in order to drive a motor clockwise or counterclockwise, we need 4 transistors. We need 2 NPNs and 2 PNPs. Let's try to make them here really fast. Have this one over here, this one over here. Okay. And then we will just say that they are NPN or PNP. So here I have my transistors. Okay. Now I need 2 PNP transistors. Okay. I have 2 PNP and I have 2 NPN. Okay, so I have 2 PNP and 2 NPN transistors. All of them need the base. Okay. Okay. And I have, of course, gonna have my DC motor here. Okay. Now, I need to activate these two in order to go one way or the other. But I need other 2 transistors in order to activate them at the same time. So I'm going to use for this I'm going to use a PNP, an NPN transistor on both sides. Okay, and this is how it works. If I apply a voltage of 9 volts to this one, I'm going to activate 2 of them. So a PNP transistor, the base current goes out. So what I'm going to do is that when I activate this, the current is going to flow through the transistor, come over here, and activate this one. So I'm activating this transistor and this transistor if I apply 9 volts to this. Okay? If I apply 9 volts to this other transistor, I will activate this one where the current goes out, and I will activate this one, that is the NPN, where the current base goes in. Okay, so I'm activating this one over here and this one over here. So my lab needs to activate either this one, this pin of 9 volts, or this pin over here with 9 volts. Okay. So I'm going to need for this lab, I'm going to need 4 NPN transistors and 2 PNP transistors. Okay? If you didn't have 2 NPN transistors, how would you do this device? If you didn't have these as NPNs, instead of NPNs, if you needed a PNP transistor, what would you do? You would need to change, instead of 9 volts, change it to 0 in order to work. Okay? In order to activate this. But it's harder to use since you're not going to have the current here needed to activate the transistor. So we need NPN transistors, okay? That way I can get the motor to go this way or this way. Okay, so this is going to be our lab using 4 NPN transistors and 2 PNP transistors. Okay, so good luck with that.